And if you're complaining about gas, this jug of gasoline here, only 1 gallon, costs $8. Sweatshop's organization to find out if the whole thing is just a cover-up.
And the Jack Roush Day has been celebrated here on this street every October 15th for the...
Caught up with WKU Assistant Athletics Director Todd Stewart to see why WKU and Russell would be the right fit. And it's 2 o'clock right now, but locked doors and nobody in the parking lot must mean that fan attendance at this event was too low to keep going on.
By definition, many would say Chad Willis lives a double life. On the weekdays, Willis spends his time in chemistry research labs on WKU's campus. But on the weekends, he has a serious need for speed. That's because Willis has been racing cars for the past 10 years. But Chad isn't alone. His younger brother Hunter races alongside him, something Chad says brings the two closer together.
We're both in college now, and we're both a lot busier, but we make time for racing because we have so much fun with it, and it definitely does make us tight. I get kind of nervous racing with him just because I don't want to tear up both our cars.
And it's not just the brothers involved in racing. Chad says his family has been supporting them through every left turn.
It's definitely a family effort for anybody at the track right now. You know, their family's behind them 100%. It gives you something to gather around, something in common. And, you're always pulling for your dad or your brother, whoever may be on the track.
But auto racing comes at a price. The average car costs around $35,000. And if you're complaining about gas, this jug of gasoline here, only 1 gallon, costs $8, more than twice the time that an average citizen pays. Tires cost $1,000 per month, and that's just the bare minimum.
For the Willis family, the price is right to continue racing. But Chad has a unique future ahead of him, one that may steer him away from a goal like NASCAR.
Right now I plan to go to UK next year for medical school, whether it be with race cars or with patients. You got to do whatever it takes, have that flexibility of your mind to figure out what's the best solution.
For Chad and Hunter Willis, it's hitting the books, then the pavement. Step into Steve's Sports Card Shop and you're taken to a time many consider is fading. Drowned out by music from the 1970s with an audience of athletes dating back to the 1880s. Owner Steve Kessinger has something for every generation. But there's an irony at his shop. For a hobby historically dominated by children, there are few to be found.
Kids today are so used to computers and video games and things like that, where they get constant action. That you hand them a baseball card and they look at it and go, well, what does it do? To them it's kind of boring. It's just a piece of cardboard.
But 20 years ago, cardboard looked like gold at baseball card conventions. Now a sign of the times, an avoided generation gives way to lesser turnouts at those same conventions.
We showed up at a baseball card convention here in Nashville, Tennessee that was supposed to be going on from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. and it's 2 o'clock right now, but locked doors and nobody in the parking lot must mean that fan attendance at this event was too low to keep going on.
But getting the youngest generation interested in cards may take a new generation of card shop. Rubmaster Sports Card Shop fits the bill. They rely heavily on interactive games like Yu-Gi-Oh! These games draw on kids and even adults. But conforming isn't something Kessinger says he's willing to do.
I'm frankly older than most card shop owners, and I'm kind of old school, and I really don't have an interest in learning all about Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon cards.
Bowling Green's two card shops seem to represent a yin and yang. Old school sports card collecting meets a newer version, and both seem optimistic about the outlook of the industry.
On the subject of guys with local ties who hit it big, Jack Roush will preside over 4 drivers and cars tomorrow night at Kentucky Speedway. His influence in motorsports is as global as his roots are humble. Here's Jake Ryle.
Wait a minute. Yeah, he fell off.
He's surrounded by winning drivers and fast cars. Throughout his legendary career, Jack Roush has won more than 400 races as a driver and owner of Roush Fenway Racing, earning him penthouse status in the sport. But his upbringing was far from glamorous. Jack was born in Covington and raised 70 miles east of Cincinnati, in the village of Manchester, Ohio. His brother Frank and longtime friend Buster Rourke believe growing up in a small town has contributed to his level-headedness throughout the years.
He enjoys coming here. He remembers where he came from. He enjoys the people, and he spends a lot of time. I mean, he goes every car that's here. He views it, and anybody that wants an autograph, it doesn't make any difference whether it's a Ford, Chevy.
Even Manchester took note of his fame. In 2003, Jack Roush Way would replace Main Street. And the Jack Roush Day has been celebrated here on this street every October 15th for the past 8 years. But like the Kentucky Speedway getting a NASCAR race, some things are just meant to change.
We do an auction. Jack sends in some autographed items from his drivers, and which his autograph gets on the item. He does an auction with us out on stage.
The annual Jack Roush Day has now raised more than $50,000 for the village. That day is highlighted with a lunch, auction, and of course the car show. Even non-racing fans would enjoy his charismatic personality, relating Jack to an old left-hander you might recall.
You know, he's like old Joe Nuxall. You know, Joe was, if you have a rain-out days, put the microphone in front of him. Most people would shut the TV and no, that's when I'd want to, because he'd just go on. Well, Jack's that way about automotives and about racing. He can just go on and on and on.
And if you do attend this weekend's race, keep an eye on Jack. Keeping with his Cat in the Hat nickname, he'll be the one wearing a straw hat. Reporting from Manchester, Ohio, Jake Ryle, WCPO Sports.